I'll start off over here. Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to talk to you today about the European dimension of fostering creative talent. Now, before I start off my remarks, I just want to take a moment to actually explore what this means, creative talent, because we always talk about it as if we know what it is. But let's just dissect it for a moment. Creative appears to have only positive connotations, no? Creative essentially is a term that suggests that someone thinks and behaves differently, and because of this different behavior and thinking, positive results are derived from that. And this is, of course, true. But have we ever asked ourselves how welcoming we really are of different behavior, both in Europe and here in Spain? How welcoming are we of people who really push intellectual boundaries and of people who challenge conventional wisdom? Creative people, ladies and gentlemen, they rock the boat. They have their own ideas about things, and they actively work towards change and disruption and innovation. Ask anyone who is creative, and I know we are joined here today by many creative people. Ask them, and they will all tell you that for all of our talk in Europe about wanting to foster more creativity, there's still an incredible amount of resistance to change. There's still an incredible amount of conformity in our societies, and still an incredible aversion to take risks and venture into the unknown. Can creativity thrive under such conditions? Can creativity thrive in companies and public administrations that are completely stifled by their own hierarchies, by past legacies, and completely outdated ways of working together? We spoke here this morning about the importance of collaboration and openness. Do we have work environments that really foster this? Can creative talent thrive in economies that so heavily favor incumbent and old industries, large firms, over new and emerging sectors that by definition have to start small and that are driven by entrepreneurs that don't have a lot of money and political connections? Can creativity thrive in institutions where the power of a manager is usually not derived by how well he or she motivates their staff and to encourage them to bring out the best that they can be, new ideas? Or does their power just merely come from some arbitrary rank in a bureaucracy that was decided somewhere on top? These are questions that we really honestly have to ask ourselves. Or take the word talent. We all want talent, don't we? We know that we need talent to sustain our prosperity and our very high standard of living here in Europe. We need talent to keep our leading edge in innovation. We need talent to get things done. But again, if we really cared for talent, then why are we neglecting and underfunding our schools and universities? Why are we promoting people so often not based on their competence and skills, but perhaps based on their age? Why isn't there a collective outcry when hundreds of thousands of our best and brightest researchers and innovators have already left Europe? There isn't even a public debate about this. Why do we allow 43% of Spanish youth to go without a job when we know fully well that we need their talent in order to sustain our prosperity for tomorrow? So creative talent, if we are serious about it and if we do want to foster it, we have to ask ourselves if this current context, right here in Spain and in Europe, is really conducive to it. So what is it that we need to do? I have two proposals. First, we need to start to teach it. And here I want to show you a slide in a moment. So we need to start to teach it. And secondly, we need to learn to measure it. Now, going to the first point, how do we teach it and why do we need to teach it so urgently? And here I need to show you a slide. And I hope this is going to work. Yes. So this is what you see here is how the demand for skills has actually changed over time. And you see an explosion here on the green line, which are non-routine interactive skills. And you see a dramatic decline here on the red axis, which are non-routine manual skills. And the problem with our educational systems is that we usually teach what is easiest to teach and also what is easiest to test. But it is exactly these skills that are most likely to be outsourced or to be automated. So here in Spain, if you look at the people, most of the people who have lost their jobs, they have these red skills, non-routine manual. So perhaps this is something that we should think about. There is virtually no unemployment among the people who have the non-routine interactive skills. So just something to keep in mind. People who want to be successful today and in the future have to really be problem solvers. They have to synthesize a lot of different information strands. They have to be good team workers. They have to be collaborative. They have to learn how to learn throughout their lifetimes. And of course, they also have to be very entrepreneurial. But, and I ask you this, is this what we are teaching in schools many times? With very few exceptions. This is not what we are teaching in schools. I want to quote from someone. The Lisbon Council recently did a one-year, very extensive research program that Navarra was actually involved in on how to measure human capital in regions and cities. And the person I want to quote is the finance minister of Slovakia, Ivan Miklos, who says, "We have a lot of memorization and not enough creative thinking." And I think, by the way, this is not just a problem in Slovakia. I think this is a problem in a lot of our school systems. So going forward, one skill that is absolutely crucial for me and that I want to talk to you about today is entrepreneurship. And when I talk about entrepreneurship, I don't only mean the act of starting a company. Entrepreneurship to me is an attitude towards life. It's a can-do attitude. It's solving your problems rather than relying on others to figure them out. And it really is about taking charge. And given that we will now not only have several jobs throughout our lifetimes, but quite reasonably several careers throughout our lifetimes, this entrepreneurial skill is absolutely crucial. Learning how to learn, acquiring new skills throughout your lifetime. But again, we really have to ask ourselves what happens to our entrepreneurial ambitions between childhood and adulthood. And here I want to show you another slide. Can I move back a little bit? This is a survey that was done by an organization called Junior Achievement Young Enterprise. This is a global organization that does training on entrepreneurship and also financial literacy. They conducted a study with 10,000 respondents in 25 countries. And what you see is that children, when you ask children, do you want to be an entrepreneur, 63% say yes, they want to be an entrepreneur. By the time they reach early adulthood, that number has gone down to 6% who still want to become entrepreneurs. So we have to ask ourselves, what happens in that period between when they are children and early adults? And while it cannot be entirely blamed on school systems, I also believe, for instance, that families have a lot to do with it. There are very few mothers who tell their children, go out to be an entrepreneur and take risks. No, they tell them go into public administration or to a large company. So here, not only schools are at fault, but also families. But what I want to tell you today is there is something that can be done about it. And again, here, this organization, Junior Achievement Young Enterprise,